Welcome back to Kevin Pollak's Chat Show. I am, as always, Chat Show. How are you? Answer me, goddammit. Write to us, if you will, kpcsfanmail@gmail.com. I love hearing from you. I'm going to read a couple of your emails today. That's how much I love you and your effort to communicate. That's kpcsfanmail@gmail.com. Jamie and Sammy are not here today. I'm coming to you from the Earwolf Studios in Hollywood, California. I'll get you the exact address in just a moment. You can look it up. Stop by. Their doors are wide open. Come on in. Ask to talk to Scott Aukerman about anything you want. He loves meeting fans. So if you're a fan of his, please come by the studios anytime. Turns out he's here 24/7. I didn't realize this, but he has a very long cot in the back. He's a tall guy. You got to go up on him. What was that? Recent guests, you're wondering what else has happened on this show. David Harbour, Sheriff Hop from Stranger Things. I love me the David Harbour. Bryan Cranston, Christopher Guest, Lauren Graham. Oh, and Ricky Gervais, No Big Whoop. Yeah, those are all. It's on the Earwolf on the YouTube if you want to watch. Some of them are on video. Upcoming guests, Tony Hale, Pamela Adlon, Louis Anderson, just to catch up on what the fuck. And those of you that are writing in and congratulating and all that stuff about the new Amazon Prime television show. Is it a television show if it's on Amazon Prime? I don't know. Maybe you watch it on your phone, you son of a bitch. It's a phone show. Won the Golden Globe, Best Comedy. Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. Very excited. We're going back to work very soon on season 2. If you haven't seen it yet, the fuck is your problem? You've at least had a few friends in your face. Hey, have you seen that Maisel show? Man, it's good. So, you know, do you have to listen to me? Listen to them. This first email comes from Mr. Bart Haas, because that's a fucking name. Chatty man, that's how he opens it. Cuts right to the quick, letting me know he's a fan. I've been listening to your broadcast, and you just lost me. Next email. From the very beginning. Yeah, I'm not buying that. And by the beginning, I mean the first time I listened on YouTube to the Tom Hanks segment 2 weeks ago. You got me back. Having previously been unaware that KPCS existed. So 3 weeks ago, nothing. No idea. We'll be 9 years old in March. You fuck. I have since seen, back to your letter, 36 episodes and have enjoyed 86% of them. You've stolen my heart again with the percentage. I've been a fan of your comedy for 25 plus years. What about the first 10? You prick. I maintain an almost worship regard for Peter Falk and Alan Arkin, again, winning me back, and still delight in your impressions after these years. Getting to love Jamie and Sam, too. Here's how you really stole my heart there, Mr. Bart Haas. You spelled Jamie's name correctly, which everyone doesn't, and Sam's name incorrectly. Nothing makes me happier than people mistreating Sam Levine. My black Labrador, Mozart. Is just me, or there's always an inclination to pronounce it Mozart? Mozart, right? There's like a false T in there with Mozart. You don't say Mozart. Nope. You know that great composer, Mozart? No one says that. Mozart, there's a fucking false T in there. I'll be back in a second. And I enjoy watching and listening as I work. I have stolen the premise of Larry King Game at more than one party over the years, and I'm including one that I wrote I never get a chance to try out. Now, if I read this out loud, Mr. Bart Haas, I have to send you a fucking T-shirt. Let's see. All right, I'll give it a shot. On an autumn evening in 1972 in the lobby of the Astor Hotel, I answered the call to explore Zeppo Marx. He did not say no as quickly as I had anticipated. Oh, this guy had a thing with Zeppo Marx. You're saying Larry King? All right. We're in the studio with Vernon Troyer. Vernon Troyer? I don't know. Let's go to the... And you know what, Mr. Bart Haas? I'm evacuating. I'm not feeling good about sending you a T-shirt. You didn't reach a level of funny that I needed. I'm glad I attempted. This is show 340, and that's the first time I've bailed on a Larry King game. So you've got that. That's better than a T-shirt, right? And now let's cleanse our palate with someone from Spain, shall we? And then we'll get to our guest. Hi, first of all, let me tell you that I'm Spanish. All right? I'm writing from southern Spain. So my English may be wrong And this stupid autocorrect thing isn't helping at all. So forgive me and don't feel bad if you don't understand a word, the W of word capitalized for no apparent reason, of what I'm saying. I came across the KP chat through a YouTube few months ago, and I'm really enjoying it. Most of all, the long, not in a hurry kind of relaxing chat in which something really rare when it comes to TV interviews. Anyway, I love when someone in writing a letter realizes they've meandered and comes back with, anyway, one of my favorite shows is the one with Matthew Perry. He was wise, funny, pretty sharp, and Kevin and him seemed to have a great connection. Any chance he'll be back on the show in the short future? So a compliment, and then now I'm getting yelled at. Lately, it seems he is shifting a little bit from comedy stuff to dramatic kind of roles, and I think it would be interesting to hear him talk about that. Do you? Apart from that, just want to say congratulations on the show and all the people involved, and I will keep watching from Spain. All the best, Lord de Vincent. Now, is that a place? Is that a name? Either way, Mr. de Vincent, person from Spain, thank you. And I'll do what I can to get Matthew Perry on the show a third time. Yeah, that's right. Keep looking through you'll see there's a third one. My guest today, very excited about this. I think, well, first of all, he was in my award-winning documentary, and I loved to have him be a part of that because I was able to talk to a lot of extremely funny people, and some of which were actually present during the conversation. Today's guest was as present and emotionally and mentally available as I had hoped. And if he's less so today, it's okay. I had it once. Please welcome back to this particular program for the first time, Mr. Todd Glass. I think you'd been here before because we had that kind of talk the first time in the film. We did that from UCB, I think.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'll send you a copy of the film, by the way. I think it's the least I could do.
Yeah. I would like to see it.
Please. Let's start with the new stand-up special. Mm-hmm. According to the interwebs, it dropped...
It dropped yesterday.
Last night, yesterday?
Yes, streaming yesterday on Netflix.
Right. So let's first talk about the entire Netflix experience, if you don't mind.
Yo, sure.
So
anything.
When is it your people that say, hey, Todd, let's approach Netflix?
You know, the last time I did a special, it was 5 years ago, and I wanted it to go to Comedy Central because, look, I'm always a big believer of, progression, don't be but I was locked on that Comedy Central, even 5 years ago, that's like a real network. And then it didn't end up on Comedy Central. It ended up like, it doesn't matter. But someone shot it like they do a lot of specials. And then if they don't sell it, well, it's, they've put out all the money. You know that deal.
Sure.
And they ended up selling it to Netflix. But you know what? Very shortly after, literally 5 months, I was like, I'm hitting a different audience than I would have, just by who comes up to you.
Yeah.
Before then, it would always be a certain type of person, younger white male, mostly. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
But then it broadened
You're hearing
so
from
far.
people's parents.
Yeah. And people that are, all from different backgrounds, from different ethnicities. Is that the right word? And of course, I knew that was a good thing. You want to reach a broader audience. So this time, I wanted it now. I was like, I hope it goes to Netflix.
Right.
I hope it goes to Netflix. And then, so in this case, a friend of mine that did Modern Comedian, Scott Moran, Jeff Rowe over at Outlaw Labs. I hope I'm saying it right. They said, we wanted to do like a different type of a special, and
right.
he never did a special before.
Right.
But I saw his work, and long story very short, because it's probably boring. Between Scott Moran and Jeff Rowe at Outlaw Labs, if I say it wrong, it's going to be horrible. But they did everything I wanted. I love this guy. Like every little thing I wanted it to be. I wanted it to be intimate, but not small because it's shabby. Like, which is another cool way to go.
Sure.
Like you it's a small space, especially when if somebody bigger does it in a small space, then it's cool. Oh, they're doing it in like sort of a shabby place. That's the kitschiness or the uniqueness of it.
Sure.
But I wanted it to look like a theater that holds 3,000, but it's 80.
Right.
And they did it.
Like only 80 people showed up?
No. I thought about that, having like the whole audience. Never mind. But
well, that's one of the things I wanted to talk to you about was there's no incorrect way to do a special now. So what was the process of choosing that exact venue?
Well, I thought I wanted to look more like a venue that I would, sort of work. I wanted to use the band. I have like bands that I use on the road, and I beefed it up a little. We had like a 6-piece band.
Great.
It's hard to explain how I utilize them, but it worked. And they didn't look. It's everything you would want it to be. They didn't ever like. It used to be when networks would go, oh, they're good, that network. They let you do your thing, but then slowly through the process, you're like, ugh, yeah. I get it. They're putting a lot of money up, and they should be able to interject.
And I
get it. And they do, but nothing.
Right.
Through the editing, nothing.
Wow.
They were just, you couldn't ask for more. You literally couldn't ask for more.
Right.
So it was a great process, and and this was I'm proud of this special. I'm proud of this special.
So did your people go to Netflix and say, "Hey, we got a thing"?
After it was all shot and it was all done,
right?
We sent it over to Netflix,
right?
And we had to wait a little longer,
sure.
And I was, my manager kept saying they didn't say no, just wait, and then they said yes,
right?
And today I drove down Melrose, saw a billboard. I almost had a nervous breakdown.
I mean, it's insane. I
never had a billboard before.
Sure,
so I was like, wow, a billboard. I took a picture of it.
How many pictures?
Took 2.
Right. I'm going to need you to take 5 more.
Okay. Believe me, I'm driving there on the way home.
Yeah.
I said, does anyone want to go there like tonight and like get sandwiches and eat like where we can look at it as we eat the sandwiches?
You have to do that.
But it was.
It's a huge celebration, Todd. I mean, I don't want to metaphorically or sincerely drive past this point of your billboard. No, really. I mean,
it's overwhelming.
It's ginormous in the terms of not just where you are in your life, but the amount of work you put into this special, but just in the terms of how much of your life you've devoted to the business they call show, to build to a point where you're proud of what you did.
Yeah.
We'll talk about the editing process because I'm always fascinated about that. And it went to the home that you wanted it to, and they decided, not you, and your pride, they decided hey, Thompson, listen up. We need to put a billboard. Was it on Sunset?
Yeah. On Melrose.
Even better. We need to put a billboard on Melrose. What? Pack up your shit and get out at noon. Levinson, what are you doing today at 3? The conversations were had. This wasn't just
somebody got up there. I thought of them, when they put it up there and they take the glue on the brush and they level it out. And I was like, this is so. And this was also the first special where, I never really talked about social issues in my act before. I always cared about them, and I think the podcast sort of started affecting my stand-up.
Sure.
And then a book that I did about 4 years ago. So this was the first time I had, and I liked it. It's weird because you think, well, should I just do it and not mention it? But no, I'm aware that this is the first. So some things that I'm passionate about, I got to yell about.
And be funny.
And be funny at the same time.
Right.
So it was fun to do that. Some things, mainly, the whole thing about, the kids today. Like, I can't take it anymore. The people going to kids today, I can't take it. I can't watch people say, oh, the kids today, they're getting dumber and dumber. Oh, I know there's smart ones, but, they always want to imply, I know there's brilliant kids, but you got to admit the masses. And you know why it bothers me? Because it's delusional.
Right.
It's delusional. It's just delusional. And it's narcissistic.
Sure. To
say the kids today are getting dumber. I think good, smart, kind people are just misguided and way off. And I think once you say, it's my fear, it is my fear. Stand-up has been the way I've made my living.
Sure.
That if you don't start now, cutting that shit, once you say the kids today, you will never be the brilliant comedian that you might have even once been.
Right.
I really do. I don't think you can say the kids today and keep pumping out brilliant work. I think you're done. So I try to stay sharp on it because from my heart, but it felt good to yell about it in the other direction. I did fantasize that some young person, because you know what, like we know like gay people and black people and women and empathy isn't a competition.
Right.
But it's not, I love saying that because people go, oh, what about this? It's not a competition. So with that said, I think young people, I didn't like it. I remembered it. Oh, the kids today, and I hated it. And the older you get, the more they need you to yell for them. Because if you're a 19-year-old kid fighting it, you're 19, you're defending yourself. What's my motive to defend them? I'm not 19 anymore. So it was fun to do that. It was a good part. I enjoyed that process of being able to talk about certain things.
Of course. And the preparation.
I went on the road with...
Once you decide, I'm going to do this special.
Yeah, once we had a date locked down, I would bring a comedian on the road with me. I wish I had it all the time because it's so much fun to have a comedian watch your act every night.
Right.
And then literally tangible things. You're like, oh my God, that's why that doesn't get a laugh.
Right.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
Well, here's the thing I've said in other ways that I will bounce off you. It's not an objective art form for the performer, right? We are thinking, breathing, speaking, ranting, entertaining in a very myopic, personal point of view. When you've reached a point where you have your own voice and you're comfortable, now, like a boxer, you have people in your corner, but once you step into that ring, you live and die by your own wits, instincts, stamina, and point of view. Right?
Yeah.
So once you've given yourself that present, I'm going to say what the fuck I want because I've put in the time and I know what's funny because the audience has told me for over the last X number of years that, yeah, I know how to do this. Once you have that, it never crosses your mind to say, hey, Petey and Tom, would you guys mind watching the set tonight and tell me what you think? It's not an ego thing that we don't want someone else's opinion. It just literally never crosses our mind.
It's weird that it doesn't. I know there's been comedians we know over the years that had comedians on the road with them and they'll write in the room. But it was fun. It really was. And I treated it like a prize fighter for both specials. I did the work. I went out on the road. I went 2 weeks straight. I picked my favorite clubs because the audience the night of the special, they're going to be great.
Yeah.
So why not go to 2 great clubs?
And which are those for you?
For this last one, I went to the Comedy Bar in Toronto, and I went to the Acme Comedy Club. I mean, I did a lot of others, but they were the last 2 when I brought a friend or 2 with me, and it was
the Comedy Bar.
The Comedy Bar in Toronto, and it's not a fancy place. It's like 120 black box theater, but these crowds are like. There's a lot of those clubs popping up around. It's exciting.
Yeah.
Sometimes when I meet other comedians that I know real well, but are just not out on the road anymore.
Right.
You know, I say everyone's perception is their reality. But like, no, there's a lot of great clubs. I think there's a reason. I think it probably has to do with social media, and they can sometimes go right to these comedians that they thought, could I get them to this club? Am I too small to get them?
Right.
But that they've cultivated these audiences. I just got back from Bloomington, the Comedy Addict. And, you know, I always think if he listens, I don't want to say it in a bad way, but I think he gets it too. It's like a hip dive.
Right.
Does that make that?
Sure.
I hope that's not an insult because it's he has cultivated the best audiences on the planet. On the planet. A step down from that club, it's still awesome. Oh my God. A step down from the way he's trained the audiences.
Yeah.
A step down from that is still a wonderful club.
Yeah. On the planet, you're saying.
On the planet.
Because there's a place, Sammy's in Marrakesh, that I'd love to have you check.
They've done the same thing?
I mean, literally in Marrakesh.
Really?
Yeah.
And they've trained the audiences, you're saying?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
No.
Oh, shut up.
You said on the planet. I'd like to open up your perspective a little bit.
Well, you know, it's funny when my brother said, what makes it that? And I thought, look, there's a lot of things. There's no real food in the showroom, so it's just drinks, and they do it great. But you know what I said? And by the way, I want to be a better comedian every year. So I used to think when I was saying on the planet, oh, what if another club I use a lot, you don't throw us into there?
Right.
Look, you could be. If I was a club owner and I heard that I'm even saying a step down from that is still amazing.
Yeah.
I can list, you could be that. All you have to do is hear me say it and go, you know what he's saying, we're so close. What is it that they do over there at the Comedy Attic? Just as far as cultivating the audiences. You know what it is? Forget about heckling. I don't think most people heckle. I think they make that announcement, but it's talking at the table.
Right.
And the way I like to put it is, let's say 10 is the strictest you can be with talking at the table. 10 is like you are obsessed with it. Some clubs, yeah, if you're talking in the audience where 30 tables hear you, they're going to quiet you down. 10 tables, they'll make their way over there. But I want to be at a club where literally, because everybody's dollar, it sounds cliche, is worth something. I've had it happen where someone comes up to me after the show and they're like, oh, it was great, but the table next to us wouldn't shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
They don't know that they can go to the club.
Right.
But
it's like going to the movie theater.
yeah, this club though, if you're talking at your table and literally one table next to you, like they're the only ones, nope, he's going to get it. So that's what he has done to cultivate the audiences. On a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being the strictest, I think there's a lot of clubs that are 7 out of 10. 10 being the strictest, they're 7s. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
But some are 8s. That's pretty good too. He's a 10. Some people might say he's a maniac. I love him for it.
Right.
And there's other clubs like that, like, Vermont Comedy Club and the Acme and Denver Comedy Works and Heliums are all in that area. So it's fun to be on the road right now at these clubs.
That's exciting.
Yeah, you're not at a place just, where I really do think they prove, you can have a creative backbone and still serve drinks, but still put comedy first.
Right.
So I've been enjoying it.
Yeah. So you did a couple of weeks.
I'm sorry.
That's all I want. I don't want to. There's nothing worse than, well, we went there and we did the thing.
Okay. Okay.
So you went out for a couple of.
I did, like 5 nights at one and 5 nights at the other. Went into the hotel in my room. We had the Post-its up all over the place. And you know what my friend Chip Chantry was helping me. He was good at just and my friend Daniel, not only really rewriting jokes, because there's not that much of that, but chunking it. That's my problem. Like, oh, that could be there. And it represents a chunk for me. Because sometimes I have jokes and I feel like there's 20 of them, but they don't really connect together. Yeah. And I don't realize, oh, now I remember it easier because those 5. So he's like, you should be doing this there. Well, that's about your dad, so put it over when you talk about your dog. Yeah. That's the mother load for me, chunking it up before the special.
I'd never heard that term. It makes sense, and it's something that I enjoy thoroughly and have enjoyed for many years, which is it doesn't have to have a through line. It'd be nice if there were, but when you realize that pieces belong together, they weren't created together in the same vision or, even under the same umbrella of topics, but those bridges. So, when you've been at it long enough, for me, I don't ever want to feel, let alone verbally share. So, what else? I don't even want that thought in my head.
What thought is it that you're saying?
What else? As in, what else do I want to talk about?
Oh, yeah, that's for me.
Where are we going next?
You know when that affects me the most? Like, let's say, I always give a number to everything. Let's say 10 is the best audience in the world. Mm-hmm. And 8 is still a great audience. You just don't have the same amount of time to think in between jokes.
That's right.
So when I don't have that, I would get like, what am I going to do next? I've been doing this over 30 years. And I do have some of those nights where I'm like, what am I going to talk about next?
Yeah.
What am I going to? But after I get done, I keep saying chunking it up. You know what I mean? Like grouping it up.
No, I like the term a lot.
It helps me. It helped me a lot. Yeah, and then I perform better because I know what's next. Oh, now I'm about to enter into this. That's an 8-minute thing.
Yes.
As opposed to, okay, I got this joke is 60 seconds, but then while I'm doing this joke, I'll be thinking about my next joke,
Right.
So it was a fun process. And the show, the night of the taping, it was just, the audience was just looked good. There were 10 of those podcast people.
Where did you take?
We did it at the Lyric, not the Lyric in Silver Lake, but there's a Lyric basically on like La Brea and Melrose here in Los Angeles. I think it's closed temporarily and reopening, but we used it as a shell almost, and we just went in there and just gave it. Like, I love the crowd shots.
Yeah.
Are like they're in the dark where they are when everyone's, they used to, they got them lower. Like 30 years ago, they were bright. Bright as the stage.
Yeah.
And then you go, on the most important night of your life. I like this, I always say, just because you don't say something one way, it doesn't mean it. Sometimes when you repeat back to someone what they're doing, they go, no. Well, hold on. Is it no, because it's not what you're doing? Or when it's said back to you, you don't like the way it is? I see that happen a lot with Dr. Phil. When he's up on the, I'll put it up there. These are your texts. I'm not, So what they're basically saying when you light up the audience is, on the most important night of your career, what we're going to do, okay, I'm the director here. I hope this doesn't fuck you up. I think think it's a good idea. We'll make the audience as uncomfortable as they can abso-fucking-lutely be. Oh, well, why are you going to do that? We're just going to brighten them up. You know how they're more comfortable in the dark? We're going to brighten them up. And on the most important night of your life, we're going to make the audience super uncomfortable. You think that's a good idea? And then they went half down.
Right.
No, my guy goes, you know where they'll be? And he said it to me and I loved it. He goes, in the fucking dark. And when we cut to them, they'll be in the dark.
Right.
And you might not be able to tell what the pinstripe on their shirt is, but you'll know it's someone in the audience laughing at a joke. People will know what it is.
Yeah.
And the audience was comfortable. And he had it all gelled blue. It was like in a sea of blue.
Who's
this thick blue?
The director?
Well, Scott Moran and Jeff Rowe. Jeff Rowe was, the guy who he owns Outlaw Laboratories.
Right.
And Scott Moran was probably a collective, creative effort. But they gave me everything I wanted. And I really do think when you see the special, let alone, you have to be a little modest about talking about how great your material is. I am proud of what I did. But I think when I rave about it, it's him, the vision that I had a vision and both of them brought it to fruition. Mm-hmm. And they did a great job. Like you look at the crowd shots and the audience in the place, it just looks like, you know what someone said? They go, I want to go there.
Yeah.
And it doesn't exist.
Right. My better half, Jamie, who's most often here for these things as the head writer of the chat show, likes to every now and then remind me of a little aside in my act. And, they're just references to material and she seems to remember the ones that are off the beaten track. I call them asides because to performers,
they're the best.
They're the best.
I love them, and
they rarely get a similar reaction from the audience the way we feel about them. They're throwaways for the most part, and we'll think about them and they'll come out most times as improvised while we're doing an otherwise completely written piece. This little tag will suddenly pop up, and we'll say it once. And it makes us laugh, and then we can't let go of it. And it doesn't matter how many people don't laugh, and it doesn't matter how many people that you know and trust say, do you need that tag? The answer is yes, you do. And it's not a matter of ego, and it's not a matter of pride. It makes you happy.
That's so funny.
Right?
Yes.
And
I'm trying to think of a few right now that will just, make me laugh in my act. It's just a weird. I love to look at people in the audience and go, what are you looking at? Just for no reason.
Because they're looking at you.
What are you looking at? I'm looking at you, one guy said. I go, I know, that's the joke. That's what I told him.
Yeah.
I'm looking at you. I know.
Right. So you allow yourself those.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to do jokes like,
no, don't write a joke that is just for you. That's
right.
self-indulgent.
That's self-indulgent. Right.
And it's also.
I mean, you should write jokes that make you laugh, but after a while, I don't want to be the guy who's like, that's why, I don't want to be the guy who's just, purposely. I don't think there's anything cute about trying to do bad. Now, if you're trying your hardest and the crowd's not with you, no, obviously thank God, because otherwise we wouldn't have good comedy if we didn't not trust sometimes the pulse. Still have respect for the audience is why I like to say it. You can have immense respect for the audience, and you should have, but sometimes you have to ignore the collective pulse of that audience that night. Otherwise, great comedians would be just slashing great jokes out of their act.
Well,
but don't ignore them
right.
completely. I mean, because you could just write books if you didn't care about the reaction from the audience. But certain nights, obviously, to ignore the collective reaction of the audience and just know it's a good joke, and that night it didn't land.
I'm writing to Jamie to ask her, because I want to see if we can exchange a couple of these asides that, with context, if they make sense to each other, right? Because the one you just did, what are you looking at?
What are you looking at?
Is fantastic and playful, and it's a little tiny throwaway. Are there any tags that come to mind within a body of a piece of material? So I'll give you an old one that I can think of. I used to, like almost every comedian, do 3 to 5 minutes on flying in an airplane. You know, we all had airplane material. And I remember 35 years ago, Leno, who was basically Yoda at that point to the younger comedians, when I got this airplane material and I feel like it's kind of hacky because, you know, everyone does airplane material. He said, you know, it doesn't matter that you got a McDonald's joke. What matters is that yours is the funniest McDonald's joke. And that spoke to, as I got older and experienced more things, a larger, big picture view, which is as performers and then as actors and as writers, we at some point start to treat our careers like a porcelain egg. Like, I shouldn't be doing that because it's not beneath me, but it's a similar version of beneath me. And what you really mean to say is, I won't be forgiven by the audience. The audience will hold it against me. What are you doing appearing on fill in the blank, right? And then I was asked to host this game show. And I thought, I can't be hosting a game show? What great director in a film is going to want to work with me if I'm thinking in terms of that. Right. And so then I sat down with the creators of the show. They said Johnny Carson hosted a game show, Groucho Marx hosted a game show, one at the beginning of his career, one at the end. I said, well, I'm not at the beginning of my career and hopefully I'm not at the end, so what are you saying? He said, well, what I'm saying is you get to improvise on network television in prime time because when you're hosting this thing, you get to improvise the entire show. We have rules. They'll be explained by this person. You talk to the contestants, and you get to say and do whatever you want. And that I found intriguing. And then they said, also, we shoot 10 episodes in 5 days, so you'll get 10 paychecks in a week. And I said, when do we start? When does that gig work?
Yeah, I learned the same thing, like what Jay was saying, which, of course I agree with, from Brian Regan, when I thought I just was a little off on airplane jokes. And then I watched Brian Regan do a whole set on David Letterman. They were all plane jokes. And of course he came to me. He's like, no, you don't do shitty airplane jokes. Don't do the ones about the bags of peanuts. But there's other things. We fly a lot. To not talk about it was absurd.
And everyone... the airline business is thriving. So it's not like we're talking about a very specific part of the touring stand-up comedian that everyone can.
And something we do a lot.
Right.
So as long as you hit it from a clever perspective, I've always, I don't limit. The one thing I try to do, I hope it keeps me a better comedian and not turning into a parrot of myself. I don't think it affects everybody. Obviously, you always have to say that because some comedians listening, and maybe for someone it doesn't work, but they're still a brilliant comedian. I decided I didn't want to just talk about what angered me or what frustrated me or what pissed me off. I want to talk about that, but what brings me joy? And then I started thinking, I was talking about that one night. I'm like, oh, yeah. And then someone goes, will that be funny? I go, yeah, you can talk about what brings you joy, your obsession on, I'm obsessed with atmosphere or biting a puppy because it's so cute, Those are things you like doing. So I try to keep well-rounded that way in the last few years.
What is it about atmosphere?
I'm obsessed with, just atmosphere. Just, not being too bright and just creating an atmosphere that's conducive to chill and hang out in.
Well, we on a scale of 1 to 10, since you like those, how are we feeling about the atmosphere in this room? It's a little bright.
It's a little bright.
Right?
It's a little bright. But, there should be a dimmer switch because some people might want it bright, and even though I would wonder why. Let's put it this way. I don't think most people, like the way I have it, I don't think most people would go, oh, yeah, put it, like whenever I'm in a green room, I try to make it nice at a comedy club. And I don't think, like the joke I do, if anyone like makes fun of it or anything, I always go, oh, yeah, Todd, he gets a lot, but he thinks let me make it comfortable here. And I flip on the lights that were originally on. And everyone goes, Same thing with the audience, like with the stage lighting. Look, I don't want to be right. I want it right. If I get up on stage at a club and I don't do a lighting check or something like that, and I go to the sound guy, hey, could you bring those stage lights down a little? And they do. I literally hear a collective sigh from the audience. Yeah, well, they don't want to be in the bright. They don't want it bounced off the back wall.
A sigh of appreciation?
A sigh of appreciation.
Right.
And I go, is that because you like it? And literally, I think the owner's going to think I planted 30 people. There's no way. No, like, it's just so fucking bright. It's not even in the gray area.
I need to meet the owner of the club who thinks you planted 30 people.
Well, I'm saying in my paranoia, you know, because it's just too good. Like, oh, there's no way that. But yeah, like, bring it down. I think most of the time, even hotel rooms, when I travel, I always, you know, I bring gels. You know, like, gels, the big sheet of a gel, and I just cut and I make little circles and I'll just pop it over 3 lamps. So if I have people hanging out after the show, coming back to the room, you put a little jazz on, you got 2 lamps on that are blue, and now it seems like a funky, cool place to hang out.
Right.
You know, to light a candle and try to put everybody around it.
Yeah.
So we're circled around a candle. Even if I have to take a trash can from the bathroom, turn it upside down and put that in the middle with the candle on it.
Right.
Take some chairs, get 2 from the lobby, circle around it. Everyone's sitting in a circle with a candle in the middle.
Where's the problem?
Blue room. So I'm obsessed with that. So I try to, I talk about that. I even gel my refrigerator light.
Did you?
I do.
What color?
Blue.
Perfect.
I switched to blue.
Because it's cold.
Well, I know. Well, the whole everything blue now.
Right.
Clubs, I like it blue. I like blue.
Did you see the movie Shape of Water?
I didn't yet.
See it in the theater. No,
Really?
No television will do it justice. The
Yeah,
colors and the greatest TV made will not do this. The blues and the greens in this color palette of this movie, you're going to like it. You're going to be happy. I mean, it's my favorite movie of the year.
I went to see. I never saw Frank Sinatra or like you would saw an old school crooner.
Sure.
I'm going to see some cool bands, but not old school crooners. And I thought, well, who's the one that I would want to go see? And it worked out to go see Paul Anka.
Oh wow!
In Beverly Hills, and he had like a 35-piece orchestra
Holy
band with him
cow.
that night. It was during Christmas. And it was like all of a sudden the house went dark and you heard bum 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 bum.
Where was
bum,
this?
Bum, 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 at the Beverly Hills. I'm forgetting the name of the theater, but it was just over the holidays.
I have to see this.
Let me tell you something. If you want, if
I'm not
that's something
kidding.
you enjoy, I heard that he was going to have a bigger band with him. So all of a sudden it's pre-recorded music. You hear bum 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 bum, and then that's how the band enters. The house goes dark. Bum 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 bum, and then one guy enters the stage, 2 guy, 3 guy, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They keep coming on 9, 10, 20, 21, 22. Bum 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 bum, and I'm literally not exaggerating the numbers. 24, 25, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 36, 37, 38, and then they're all on there, and then they all hit the last note of the song. They all go bum 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 bum. Ladies and gentlemen, he enters from the back of the room. The room is a thick blue. That's where actually I switched to blue. Thick blue. He enters from the back of the room. He's amazing.
Yeah.
He after he did his first like maybe 10 minutes, he got back on, he was in the stage, standing on a chair in the middle of the audience, which he does all the time. He gets back up on the stage and he sells it. He goes over to the piano and does 2 push-ups. Like he leans over and goes boom, boom. Now that could either be cheesy or just the coolest goddamn thing in the world. And it was the coolest goddamn thing in the world.
Yeah.
The other thing he does, again, cheesy or just you earn the right. If you don't earn the right, it's cheesy. But you know that thing that Martin Short sort of does? How do we explain to the audience? Where you do something and then you put both hands on your sides and you go,
look at me.
look at me.
Yeah.
He did that.
Right.
And he earned the right to do it. And we're like, me and my friend, we're like,
losing your mind.
Fucking crazy. I can't believe I'm here. And he walked by me and I got like, oh, fuck, shut up. It made me want to be a better performer.
Yeah.
It made me want to be a better performer.
And he's been doing it for 60 years.
Yeah. And great. His voice was just amazing and loud and the band was loud and he was in control of everything. And it was something to see.
Yeah. I have. Will you remind me of this, or Sam, make a note? I have to look up where he's performing next.
Go. You will. And it also reminds you all those cliche things like how important it is to make every show great. Like, what if that night he wasn't in that mood? Like, what are the odds are, I think, probably 100% of the time, Paul Anka does a show. His worst show that he might think is still probably great.
Right. Yeah.
Gives a shit.
Yeah. It's our responsibility. A couple things. One of which is to never, ever let the audience know you've done any of this before, right?
Yeah.
You have the confidence and the stage presence and all of that clearly states you're a pro and they're in good hands. I think we have 30 seconds, the opening 30 seconds, to relax their sphincters and let them know they're in good hands. But whatever we say, we have to present it in a way, because we have this unspoken agreement with the audience. They've agreed to suspend their disbelief that all of this isn't memorized and performed, and you're just speaking to them from the heart and from the funny. They don't stop on the way to the show and go, do you think he has done 10 shows the exact same way leading up to tonight? Not possible, honey. He's never performed any of this. You know, it's that unspoken agreement that we make. But it's our responsibility to do our part to fulfill that unspoken agreement,
right?
Which is to give them a show that never reeks of this again.
Yeah. Without, I forget who told me. Sometimes you get great words of wisdom and you forget who gave them to you, you know, because it was so long ago.
Sure.
But that you can do what you just said, but don't fake spontaneity.
No.
Some guys do it. I'm not a big fan of it because you go, well, isn't that what we're supposed to do? No, the comedian was saying there's a big difference with telling. Like if you tell a story, even if you're not a comedian, and maybe you've told a story a few times and your friends go, hey, tell that story. Yeah, you tell it like you've never told it. But you don't have to fake laugh during it or any of that stuff. That stuff will, but without faking spontaneity to just, I always cared. I always liked to perform, but there's nights where I used to think, well, the Thursday show, maybe I'll play a little bit more. But then you find out sometimes after a show, I'm sure every comedian's had this happen, I think. Someone goes, we enjoyed your show. We drove 5 hours. First thing I do, I don't know why, I go, did you get a hotel? Because I think, do they have to drive back 5 hours? Usually they'll say, yeah, we got a hotel. I feel better. Right. But I think, the minute I hear 5 hours, I go, oh, did I do a good job? They drove 5 hours.
Yeah.
Like, did I do a good job? And then I always think there's people in this crowd, hey, maybe some of them drove 60 seconds. Of course, they deserve a great show too. But that 5 hours is like, holy shit, did I give them their money's worth? They drove 5 hours?
New performers, young performers out there, make every show matter by imagining there's someone in every one of the audience that you perform to who drove 5 hours just to see you. No, seriously. That's pretty spectacular as a mindset going in. Like if you met those people before the show, we drove 5 hours. Imagine taking that on stage.
I want to remember that.
Right.
I want to remember that. There's a few things I write in a book that I always have with me. And one of them I just wrote, because after my last special, which the one 5 years ago, it's still an okay special, but I wrote, talk like you talk. Like, you know, in the 80s, there was definitely an affectation on a lot of comedians' voices, you know, as we know. And then you just become more and more real. And then I go, just talk like you talk. That's one of them. And then that's it. Somebody drove 5 hours.
You wrote that?
I wrote it in my book because I have it out always. And it's like a black binder and I open it up and my notes are in there. Because I like music stands on the road. I decided, and most clubs have them. Recently, I found one that can literally go in my luggage. You know, the way technology is, it folds up. I'm like, someone gave it to me. They're like, this you can.
It folds into a toothpick.
It's crazy. It like opens and opens and opens. And then I like to have my notes on it. But I don't want my notes, so I have to pick them up and read them. So it's in a black binder. The pages are black. I have it printed. I always print it reverse, so the pages are black. So it just looks less clinical.
And the writing is white?
The writing is white. And then I have it on the music stand and a black binder. On the left-hand side, I move it over, and that's where it says that. So it reminds me, as I turn the pages, I have it written all the way over to the left so I can still see it. Even as the pages turn, that's all the way to the left, it's written. And it does. I look down at it. I see it. I can't help but see it every single show. I love having the music stand.
Where did this discipline and focus come from?
My memory is really bad, and I learned...
Yeah, but you've got very specific rules that you want to follow, that you enjoy following, that help you in your preparation so that you can be your best on stage.
Yeah, that's one of them, that it'll pace me. I go off topic a lot. Sometimes I do enjoy even smoking a little bit. And if I don't have the notes, I feel like I can't have I need to have, what are they? You can't go off the beaten path unless you have a beaten path. So it's my some people can remember their beaten path. I can't. So if I have the notes right there, and they're clean. I don't have, no, I'm not picking up a piece of paper halfway through my show. They're in big black letters or white letters, and then I turn the page. You know, sometimes 15 minutes flies by, I'll flip a page. I tell the audience up front. I don't always do it that way, but I'll say, hey, I don't want you to think this is clinical, but sometimes I forget where I'm at, and this just helps me. Just so you know, these aren't new jokes. So just so you know. So people might be going, oh, this is new material. No, I wouldn't be doing it. So if it doesn't get a laugh, I put the onus on you, not me, because these jokes have worked. And I just flip it, and it just helps me. And then because a lot of clubs don't have clocks, which is, really funny. I was at the Comedy Addict, and they have a clock. About 20% of clubs have a clock. Right. Now, some people would have a clock and ignore it anyway. I get it. But there are comedians that are trying to stay. I try to end the show when the club one is over, when they want it over. That's the only thing you can really do to say thank you. If they do it all right. Yes. When you go to these clubs and they do everything right, I go, really, what's the biggest thing you can do back? And end your show. 15 minutes over, no big deal. 15 minutes or under. So I try to do that, but there's no clock. Like doesn't that behoove you to have a clock somewhere where the comedian can see it? Because the light tells you have 10 minutes. But if I have my notes, then I just bought a cheap watch and I taped it into the binder so I can go, you know what, sometimes you've been on stage 15 minutes. You haven't really gotten to your act yet. It's time now to leave the playing around with the audience, which is fun. So the notes, the clock, I get on stage, I feel like $1 million. I am ready. I got organization right there. The music stand, it's high, it's tilted towards me. There's the time, and then I know I can go do a good show.
Repeating the question, where did this discipline and focus come from?
It's probably because it's the only thing. I don't do a lot good, I'm not good at a lot of stuff.
But no one taught you any of these things. No one suggested any of these things.
No. Just from doing comedy so long.
It just
I started
came to
in high
you
school.
After time. You know what would help? If I did this.
I was at a club that had a music stand. And I went, why doesn't every club have a music stand? And it's funny with new comedians, like, of course the advice, I love talking to new comedians. The advice is at least get on stage at least once a week because you see someone that's been on stage 52 times a year later, twice, 3 times, of course, great. And I go, this is stupid. I always feel like I have to preface it. I go, but make your notes with a big black Sharpie. You know what I mean? You don't have to have a binder. You're going on stage to do 4 minutes. But if that'll ease your mind, write it with a big black Sharpie. So when you put it on the stool, you don't have to lift it up after the joke. You're doing your set, you glance down. So I always give that advice. I go, and then you're not worried about your next joke. Enjoy the joke you're in.
Yeah. What if they said to you, hey, dude, my eyes are only 23 years old. I don't need big black Sharpie.
Well, then why are they lifting up the piece of paper?
Just don't lift it. Yeah. If you can't see it, big black Sharpie. If you can see it, stop with the picking of the paper.
Well, I don't think they can because you know how they write it in regular handwriting. So even if you have great handwriting or good eyesight, you still can't look.
You've
3
taken a
feet
few
away.
notes here today, I've noticed.
I did.
Yeah?
I did.
Anything you want to discuss?
Well, when we're done, I have one thing I want to plug besides the Netflix special.
Sure.
But it's different. I'll tell you what it is because I think it's also about comedy and how this is the purest form of comedy.
Please.
So it works. When I went to Philly, when Helium had just opened in Comedy Club, a comedian by the name of Blake Wexler, he was about 16. He came up to me after the show with his dad and his friend Chris.
Love this.
And I just, I think we're all the same. Look, comedians that are brand new comedians, let's say a 1-year or 2-year comedian, they might not be able to do what we do on stage yet, but off stage, they're comedians already. Right. They're fun to hang out with backstage, and then they'll eventually learn to bring who they are to the stage. But backstage, they're as funny as you. You know what I mean? They're fun to hang out with. So Blake came up to me after the show. He said, I thought you were funny, and it was with his dad. And then he came back to the show another night. And 3 nights later, he gave me his business card.
He gave you his 16-year-old
I know, adorable, right? And from when a young adult is adorable. But and then I said, hey, I said, if you want to come to the show for Saturday night, here's my number. Call me. I'll put you on the guest list. And I did. Then I was back in Philadelphia. And, I don't like to go to shows myself, and this is like 8 months later. I don't like to go to shows myself, and I've always had jokes. A lot of my friends are younger because, when I was 22, all my friends would go to my shows with me.
Yeah.
22, they're 22. They don't have anything going on. 19, they were 18, 17, 16.
Sure.
Then you turn 23, and a lot of your friends are starting to go, okay, and you lose them. They can't go out. So they have younger brothers and sisters. So I became their friends. One of my friends had a brother who was 12, and the joke was when we were like 22, one day you'll be calling for Peter. And it happened.
Uh-huh.
So now I'm home. I'm staying at my family's house, and like if it was a movie, they'd slow the pathetic moment of me pulling Blake Wexler's business card out of my wallet, and I call Blake Wexler. I go, Blake, do you and your friends want to take a ride? I'm doing a show in New Jersey tonight. We went, had the time of my life. It's like you're in high school. And so Blake told me, and then our friendship grew, and I was opening for Dave Cross, and he went to school in Boston, and he brought some friends there. So he eventually moves to LA because he's pursuing his stand-up, and he says, I've saved every one of your voicemail messages. But I've heard people say that before, and then they go, yeah, when I got my new computer, I lost them. He came over my house one day. He had every message pretty much that I'd ever left him. And he put them into some chronological order as good as he can. We took a few out, and it tells a story of our friendship, which I was like, and it's me leaving messages for him, which to me is really the purest
Is this a
form.
new podcast?
No, messages from Todd, but it's messages from from Todd Glass to Blake Wexler, and it's 50 messages. It's on a CD on iTunes, and it shows our friendship growing and growing and growing, and of course it's funny because that's just for him. There was 4 or 5 that I took out because sometimes you have a joke that might just be for your friends,
Sure.
But everything else we left because people know this was for Blake.
Right.
This was for Blake. It was just for him. I was not thinking, oh, I should edit
We're gonna
myself.
sell this to the world
Never.
someday.
Never. But, I'm not a hateful person, so there was nothing in there that I'd be like, oh, It was just absurd. I call it like vulgar poetry, like just absurdity. Absurdity is what it is, and I'm not trimming it down.
People can go to iTunes right now and get it. It's called Messages from Todd Glass.
Voicemail. Why don't I know the name of it?
That's really not great.
Blake, messages from. I'll think
Sam,
of it
you
later.
want to Google that? Yeah. Messages from Todd
On
Glass
iTunes.
to Blake Wexler?
Wexler.
Yeah. It's on iTunes.
Yeah.
Probably costs, a couple of dollars.
I don't know what it costs.
Yeah. But it's a CD.
So it's out
CD
now. And it's, when I listen to them, I mean, some of them are so simple. One of them is literally, this is just like the day after Trump won. And all it is me going, I mean, I was, like a lot of people, a little numb. And I said, oh, Blake, are you shitting me? I go, this is worse than 9/11, call me. Just because it was like so, but there's, there when he broke up with his girlfriend, it's me telling him he should quit college. Because at one point I tell him, once I think a comedian's funny, I go, if you're wealthy, I've had this happen over the years. It's a compliment. It's like, I think you're funny. I've worked with you 3 or 4 times. You're funny. You could make it in this business. It's all up to you. You might not be a household name, but you could have a comfortable, I know it. I'm never wrong. And when I see that and they're in college, I go, look, if you have a lot of money or your parents paid for your college, finish college. I get it. I'm not but if you don't and this money's coming hard, quit college. What are you fucking wasting your money for?
I graduated in 9 months. I mean, my friends called it dropping out, but it was time to go.
Yeah. What are you going to fall back on? And I know why they ask that, because they think, I think this has been said, if you're going to be a dentist or a doctor or a lawyer or whatever, no one goes, what are you going to fall back on?
Right.
Because I'm not going to fall back on anything. I'm going to do it. So I go, so you don't need anything to fall back on.
Let me ask you, speaking about
But he finished college like a real moron.
Oh, good. The dentist and the doctor and the thing. So I've often said that the stand-up comedy, is the one profession, the only one that I can think of, that the public at large treats with a casual fondness, like a party trick, not even a hobby. They dabble in comedy because they've heard a joke and they share it with friends. You're never at a party where someone's dabbling in dentistry.
Because it's not fun.
Because no one knows how to do it.
Right.
People, because there is this weird association with telling a joke that everyone can kind of do. Some have interest, some don't.
Right.
But at most parties, you'll find a guy or woman who's over in the corner, either their own material or somebody else's. Or they're recalling this great comedy show they saw and they're quoting lines.
Maybe it's like skiing. that you don't have to be a professional, but you dabble in skiing or so, or, you know, whatever the sport
hobby.
is. Yeah, it's like someone once said,
I play tennis, but I'll never be a pro.
right? Because I love that someone defended this once, and I didn't even think of it. And no one was being vicious or anything. They were just asking, and I love the answer they got. And that was, you ever been to a town where there's a comedian? Look, he's just doing it. He has a regular job, but for the last 25 years, he hits an open mic night once or twice a week. Maybe he gets a paid job here and there, but mostly someone said that they didn't understand that. And someone said, well, you ski and you're never going to be a professional skier.
Right.
So what? And they go, oh, it's like their release. It's their outlet. And they're doing it in some city. And that's...
But that's not even the level of amateur status that I'm talking about.
You're talking about just doing a joke.
I'm talking about it's a weird... an oddity that goes hand in hand with the profession we have chosen, with the business we've devoted our lives to, and to the level of interest, love, appreciation, fanship, pride in atmosphere and every aspect of what we're doing and how we do it, how serious we take it, right? Because we've been longtime professionals. And again, just that person at a party, what other profession are they dabbling in that setting? It is an oddity that doesn't beg for an answer or an explanation. But I have always felt it does undermine the profession in general, not out of disrespect, but if everyone can kind of do something that you've devoted your life to, it's a strange byproduct that I don't know. I can't liken it to another profession.
Yeah, and you said not that it needs an answer, because my instincts are always to try to. Maybe it's that because the difference between like some people go when you're funny at a party, it's a treat, no one's expecting it, as opposed to walking in front of 300 people that are expecting you to be funny, then everything changes. That's why I think that's what some people are slapped with.
Sure.
When they go, I'm fun. Not that I want to see people slapped on the first night on stage, but if you really want to do it,
right,
you'll get past that. But you know those people that are really funny, they bring everybody from the office, that type of thing. And then they doubt and they go, oh, that was not as easy as being funny at a party.
They're not sharing an aside with somebody else.
Right.
I remembered one. So my father and I share a birthday. This is a fact. He's long passed. But so growing up, when I would tell people my dad and I had the same birthday, every single time their response was a version of, that is cool. Wow, sort of thing. And the truth was, it sucked. Because your birthday is supposed to be your day, and I got to share mine with Dad. Oh, sure, some years we celebrated how I wanted to, but most years it was just, we'd be at the track. And Dad would say, remember, Kev, if that horse number 5 comes in, you can get that tricycle you've been bitching about. And then, as an aside, I'd tug on my shirt like a 5-year-old and say, come on, number 5. Right? So that was just for me acting out the moment of the little kid at the rail of this racetrack whose father just said the most hurtful, absurd thing and has reduced my birthday to that. And I need to act out, come on, number 5.
Come on, number 5.
And the notion that I was a kid rooting for this horse to win so I could get the fucking tricycle.
Literally doing that.
Yes.
Come on, number 5.
Has caused a few people afterwards to say, did that really happen? And the truth is, of course it didn't. And I love that little aside, that little moment that was acted out. It brought you to a visual of a moment in time. And the thing about the flying I mentioned earlier, the aside was the flying material. We talk about how the seat is a flotation device. And that always, it was probably done by 10 million comedians over time if you were to track it. But it was the idea that the flight attendant was selling this line of bullshit that annoyed me so much. So I would say, what else? The seat's a flotation device. What else you got for me? Is the drink cart a shark cage? Am I going to be shoving lightly salted nuts into the shark's eye? And then I acted out of doing that, and I would say, get out of here, you, as I shoved the peanut into the shark's eye. Get out of here, you. I was having a casual confrontation with a shark.
But I think those are the ones that make me laugh. You know why? Because it's such an imagination you get to have. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some people have great. It's funny we're sitting here. I can't think of any, but the sides have always been my. Do you know who has great asides? David Spade.
Yeah.
Go watch David if you love asides. And he's got hundreds of them in his act. Things he just says, he goes,
Yeah.
You know, like somebody goes, it was somewhere he was at, they go, my son loves Joe Dirt. And then they're like, oh, really? Oh, because she was a stripper at a strip place. And he didn't know how old she was or something. My son loves Joe Dirt. Oh, that's nice. How old is he? 45? Oh, I thought younger, he says. I thought it would be younger. But he just always says it almost like, oh, I thought that might be younger. Like he's hoping, I don't know.
No, it's great.
Yeah.
It's great because it brings you right to that moment and inside of his head.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of this kid. I'm going to look up his name. You know a comic out of New York, Alex Edelman? Young guy. He opened up for
sounds familiar.
For Ricky Gervais when Ricky came through town performing, and I ended up seeing the show twice. And second time backstage afterwards, I said to him, because he's pretty young.
Say his name again.
Alex Edelman.
God, that sounds so familiar.
Yeah, he's got great material for a guy who seems like he's in his early 20s. So I said, you know, you have something you're doing in your act that reminds me of a 70-year-old comedian. After a joke, right after the punchline, you'll drive the train behind it with are you aware of how often you're doing this?
Was he?
And he wasn't.
It's like Rickles goes, it's just.
Yeah.
No, that's Joan Rivers goes, it's just.
Yes.
And Rickles goes, anyway.
Yeah. Anyway,
it's just, there's just nowhere to go. It just gives you know what I say on stage sometimes? I've talked about that on stage. I go, it is just says, if you finish the joke and you leave it right there, I'll just do a bar joke to make my,
Sure.
If you just do a joke, and I've told this to an audience, I go, yeah, if I do a joke and I wait at the end of the punchline, you're going, okay, here's your opportunity. Is it funny or it isn't? But if I hit the punchline and then add 3 more words, it's like, oh, the audience is like, I don't even think he knows how funny that is because he's already off to this. So it's like, my grandfather has fake legs, but he has real feet. So when I'm at the mall, this is a thing that I dealt with that you don't even got to say because they're like, oh, that's funny. I don't think this guy realizes that was really funny what he just said.
I don't think this guy realizes.
Yeah, because you're already off to something else.
Yeah.
You just hit the punchline, boom, you're already saying a few words.
Because Bob Hope was the famous, but I want to tell you. Yeah,
it's just anything.
Yeah.
Why would a bird live in a shitty neighborhood? I'll tell you the thing about these birds are that they, you just say.
Yeah, but there's been comedians throughout time. If you look at their stuff, like Dennis Miller was very strong with it. But if you look at that black and white special, which he. Was at the top of his game and
I remember watching that.
One of the great specials of all time.
I watched that.
How many times he follows a joke with and a lot of it is an insecurity thing that you don't want that dead air waiting for them to laugh because on the way up of preparing this great material, there were too many performances where you landed and there was nothing. So your self-protection falls into place.
That's why the band is great. Because like they've been I'll utilize the band. I would think if people went to see my show, there's ways I utilize the band that have never been utilized before. There's a certain element of that. Like it's basically, it's weird to describe it, but I think it's like, because this is what someone said, you're going to see a stand-up comedy. Overwhelmingly, you're going to go see a stand-up comedian, me. But then you see bit sketches. Because anything with the band, they're sketches.
Yeah.
They're little sketches. They're little bits. But the other way, which has been utilized before with bands, it's someone else but the audience to turn to or to say,
sure,
give me something after that, God damn it.
Yeah.
And they're just great to have like a sidekick on the road.
Yeah.
I've been loving I've been in every city I try to get. I'm not touring with anybody yet.
Local musicians kind of thing?
I do. I'm at the point now where I would love to bring a keyboard guy with the iPad that would, there's just so much you can do. I did it in Philly. I brought one of the kids that works on my kid, he's 24 years old. But he works on the podcast, and he does the iPad. So he knows. He's been doing it for 2 years. He drops thunder, anything at all. I put him in with the band, and it's a lot. It can give a big sound, and it was fun, and I would like to start touring with at least the keyboard player.
Right.
And he has the iPad, and then you bring local drummers every city you go to. I get a local drummer and put him in with it. But late now, I just go to cities and I use there's like a keyboard guy and the drums, and they play as they're coming in. It just makes the whole experience.
Sure.
And people are being seated.
Right.
There's two guys in suits or a guy and a girl in suits playing jazz music with the room dark. They walk into the room. And they're like, I see them do like a half of an inch kickback. Like, oh, this is what this is.
Right. Right.
So while I'm at clubs, I try to I want it to be an experience from the second they walk into that. Even the bar, before they get into the showroom, I've learned how to control that music. Have B.B. King playing out there. Go out there, say, hey, could you guys lower the lights a little bit at the bar? Now they're walking into a dark room, B.B. King's playing, and then they walk into the showroom.
Right.
And there's a band playing. It makes it an experience.
That's pretty spectacular.
I like, and again, going to see Paul Anka or going to see someone, it reminds me, make it even the walkout music.
Right.
After all these years, I used to play one song as walkout music. The band would play one song and then they'd stop and let the club play whatever house music they wanted. Now, I found this. I know as they're leaving the room, it feels like it's still going on.
Yeah.
I still feel great. I found a Beatles medley by the Boston Pup, and it is big, and it's 6 of the best Beatles songs in the world playing by the Boston Pup, and they're leaving, and it feels great. I'd make sure the clubs don't put on the fuck you lighting. Get out. Well, it's not fuck you lighting. It's get the fuck out lighting.
I come out to that music.
You do? No.
What the fuck?
I digress.
Are you following your Eagles as they head to the Super Bowl? Is that a thing that's part of your...
I'm not big into sports. Saturday night in Philadelphia, last Saturday, there was 4 minutes left on the clock, and the show had to start. And I turned to Ben, the manager of the club. I go, Ben, how long? I won't tell you what's in my head. How long would you wait, even though you don't want to? Because there's 30 people in the bar. There's people in the showroom that still want to watch it and find out what's going on. What's the longest you would wait? He goes, 20 minutes. So I'm like, I'm with you. So we waited about 18, then 19, and then finally they won. I was like, let's start it. Let's start this. Because I didn't want to go out to angry sports fans.
This wasn't the 38-7 game, obviously.
It was last Saturday, so what was that? Well, whatever that was.
It was last Sunday they beat the Vikings.
It was Sunday.
Yeah.
It was Sunday. I'm sorry.
No, but if it was Sunday against the Vikings, they won handedly.
I remember that
they put on a clinic against the Vikings.
I didn't watch the game. All I remember is someone said, "No, they could pull. They could pull ahead." It was
never over till it's over. But it was literally 38-7 or 35-7. It was a blowout.
No, it wasn't that.
It had to have been the weekend before.
It had to
when it was very close. And
you're right. It was because I was in. It was the weekend before because I was in Bloomington this week and I forgot. So
that's a correct answer. Fondest memory from Conestoga High.
My fondest memory was there is that, I really lucked out. All my teachers there, always, I made them laugh and I got along with them. We did bits.
Yeah.
With my teachers, we did bits. And they knew I got their sense of humor. And I had a lot of funny teachers. They always made me feel smart.
Right.
Even though they knew that I wasn't retaining anything, they were in the business of teaching. At that point in 82, they probably knew that I had dyslexia. They started to know a lot about it in 82. And they always made me feel smart, doing bits with my teachers and some really great teachers. And I knew it then, even though I was young then, I don't have to look back and go, oh, I had some good teachers. Even then I knew it. And I love them. They were just great. And they always made me feel heard and smart. And that's probably my very fond memories of Conestoga High School. Some really awesome teachers.
Also a correct answer. The book you spoke of, The Todd Glass Situation, a bunch of lies about my personal life and a bunch of true stories about my 30-year career in stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
Technically still available.
Yes, it is, at Simon & Schuster.
Uh-huh.
Which were also great.
I have to ask, how's the heart?
Great.
How's your beating heart?
Great.
You made some serious changes in your life.
I did. I always worked out, but I wasn't on the Lipitor. I should have been on because of my family history. And I was smoking about a pack and a half a week.
Yeah, that'll get you.
So I quit the smoking because what it is, my diet can still be bad, but I didn't want it to look like I'm spitting at a second chance in life. If I go, well, my diet can still be bad, and go, what about smoking? Once you go, I smoke a little, they go, people go, you're. So now at least I take my Lipitor. I worked out every day. I always worked out 7 days a week. And I'm on the Lipitor now. I take it religiously, and I juice every single day. Like good juice, not just like, a smoothie. Like carrots, kale, ginger, celery, wheatgrass, cayenne pepper. Just like, so if I have a day where I don't eat too well, at least I put nutrition in my body.
Right.
And I'm 100% great. I feel great. I still feel like there's days where literally, do you ever feel like this? I'll look at my hands and I'll go, when am I going to, I have to do a few things different. Stretching in the last 3 years, I definitely had to add that to the list. And now with the stretching, it's ridiculous. It's like, now I'm obsessed with stretching. It's like, I see someone with bad posture, it makes me feel older. I'm like, stand straight, get posture, fight it, But with the stretching, I feel like I'm 18. Like I still look at my hands, I go, when am I going to not feel like I'm 18? Like it's good, I'm not complaining, but is it going to happen where one day I go, oh, I think something happened, I don't feel it anymore?
Yeah.
So I try to just do a lot right.
How many years young are you?
Why you got it?
Well, it's on the internet. People could find out pretty easily.
53.
That's correct. I have it right here.
Yeah. Isn't that funny? I hate saying my age.
Well, it's funny
it's good
to
to
me.
say it probably.
It's funny to me because you are a guy, a wonderful person who is beyond beloved by their peers, by their audience, and you've taken upon yourself to have great care for others. All of this work you're doing to make your shows a certain way, with the lighting and the band and the music and the walkout and the thing, is all about other people, right? It makes you happy to be in control of all those things. That's important inside your brain somewhere, but the intent is for a better show for other people. In many cases, a room full of strangers. There's a lot of caring, feeding for the outer world. So it's important to me that you celebrate the inner world, and I think it's important for anyone who cares about you also. And so you are doing things to take care of yourself, so you should celebrate the fucking number.
Yeah, I know. It's good to get it. It is. It's so stupid. I always admire a comedian when they say it on stage, because it's like, just end it, But when I do interviews sometimes, they always want to go like, how old are you? And one time I asked the interviewer, I'm like, look, I'll tell you, but why?
Yeah.
Why do you have to go, Todd Glass, 44, just, what's that? Tell me, like, I'm not as a jerk. And he goes, well, I'm not sure. I go, I don't know if I'm going to tell you.
Well, I didn't want to guess, and I didn't look it up ahead of time.
Yeah.
So, because guessing never works.
But when I went on Mark Maron and came out a few years ago.
Interesting that you didn't say that with a straight.
When I came out,
and I used the word straight.
When he asked me my age, I remember going, "Oh my God, I thought this was going to be the hardest thing." Now I started sweating profusely. But I get it. I've been watching so much old Rickles and Regis and all that stuff, and you can tell, I get it. I relate. One time he goes, "How old are you, Regis?" He goes, "Oh, I forgot. We're not supposed to mention your age." You know what? I get it. Regis was probably 62 at the time. He looked like he was 40,
right.
And he was like, "I don't want to make it a thing."
Here's the thing that I don't know how much it's been talked about because it seems so pedestrian, but. We look out. Unless you pass a reflecting device, it's easy to forget what other people are looking at.
Oh,
right?
I say it. Go ahead.
Yeah, so we look out, and we're all still looking out of either 20-year-old, 30-year-old eyes in terms of if you're fortunate enough to be healthy and you take care of yourself or not, but you're still in good health. It's easy to forget the number.
It is, and then that's well said, because then you're getting reminded. But look, getting over it is the ultimate right thing. But sometimes when I'll probably do around 10, 15 college shows a year.
Right.
And sometimes you're hanging out with the students afterwards. And I can't drink with, it might be hard to drink with new college students. They get drunk in a even 2 years later, 3 years later, they start having a different relationship with alcohol. But that couldn't do. But I've hung out with them afterwards, and maybe sometimes, had a little fresh air with them.
Sure.
And I'm having a great time. I'm in some city that's a snowstorm, and I'm going to be at this campus for 2 days, and I'm hanging out, and I feel like I don't feel any different. Then I go to the bathroom, and I go to wash my hands after, and I go, well, I'm older than them,
yeah. You passed a reflecting device.
Yeah, exactly.
I see. Yeah, well, that's the thing. It is just a number. The connotation we attach to the number is what freaks us out. It doesn't change how we feel
Yeah.
when someone mentions the number.
What makes me feel better sometimes, I think of guys, like I was walking by some pictures of like Sinatra and Rickles and all these guys when they were, I go, oh, they're babies. And I asked somebody, how old are they here? Who knew, figured it out just by, oh, well, that's
63.
Exactly. Like, wait, he's 62 there?
Right.
How old's he? He's 58.
Right.
And they're like, and they're like babies. So I go, so that gives me, I'm not even there yet.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, cool. That sort of goes there. And they would hope anybody who's like 89 or 90, like Rickles was, I guarantee when Rickles was 88 or 89, he was like, oh, would I love to be 53 again? Wow.
Well, that's the thing that I'm constantly drilling into Jamie, who turns 36 on Friday and doesn't seem terribly happy with the number changing. Are you fucking kidding me? With this?
But I get it. It's the same
It's
as
all
you're turning.
relative.
It's all relative. I get
Yeah.
it. That's why when someone teases, I never teased anybody about age. I never made it a big thing. When I was 16 doing comedy, I would sometimes go, well, I don't want to be this age and not own a house. When you're talking about life
Sure.
and what you want.
Sure.
But when I was talking to someone that I knew was older than the age I had given, I would up the age. So I wasn't, using age as like, don't be proud of your age. You know what I mean? There's nothing, when someone goes, I'm only this age, I go, let me tell you something. You're just as scared as turning, I know, I turned every age. You're aware of that. So I know what's in your head. And when you're 23, so even though I'm much older than that, 30 years older than 23,
Yeah.
if someone that's 23 teases me, I go, okay, you're hitting 25 and you've got that in your head and they know it because I'm right. I go, so everybody's turning an age they don't want to be, whether it's 80.
Yeah.
No age bothered my mom except she just turned 75.
Yeah.
And when I was home and I relate, I was like, I get it. She goes, this age bothers me.
Yeah,
She goes, this bothers me.
I hit a big milestone this past October, turning 60. And every time I tell somebody I'm 60, their reaction is what makes me happy. No, you're not. That's ridiculous. Because the number is ridiculous.
Yeah. And
right?
it's an image of what maybe, I think in comedy you do, or maybe anytime you get to be in the arts or you get to do, I think you don't look. Like
but it sounds crazy to me.
It's my sister-in-law said when she goes, when I turned 55, I went, oh my God, now I'm just shooting at 60. I go, well, enjoy 55. Give yourself a few years.
Yeah. How about that? How about when you turn 60, you look back, what was I bitching about at 55 for? All right. It's time to wrap things up. I can't thank you enough for all you've shared today.
Thank you.
And also, the whole point of doing this from the very beginning, here I mentioned this is episode 340, we'll be 9 years old in March.
Wow.
Was just a couple of people sitting around shooting the shit and sharing things, and I hope you enjoyed it. We just got a couple of things here.
I did, and I enjoyed even when we were doing the documentary. Like, this is all I love to do.
Right.
This is like talking about comedy. You leave with, you always leave with something.
Right.
You always leave with something you didn't have before you started the conversation. A different slant on something, someone's perspective of it. Yeah.
Dabbling in dentistry. Take that with you. It's time for a segment on the show called Ask Kevin. You're allowed to ask me any question. It could be sincere or silly or neither. Meaningless, doesn't matter. You can ask anything. One question only.
Do you remember where we? Do you remember where we? I hate to do this.
When and where we met?
Yeah. Because it's horrible. As it was coming out of my mouth, I go, "That's not a good question," because I don't do that. You don't do that to people.
But that's not bad because my answer is so good. I have no idea.
Because I thought it was Philadelphia because I'm from there, and I remember you coming in to the. Because when did you start comedy?
Before you.
Before me. Because when sometimes it could be
1978, and I was probably out on the road by 80.
And you were good when I saw you. Because sometimes, that's why you think, oh, there must be I'm exaggerating, but you'll meet a comedian that's, when you see they're good, they can get up there on stage and you were able to perform. And I would be in awe of you at the Comedy Works or guys like you that would come in. But then years later you go, oh, he had just been doing it 3 years more than me.
That's right.
We're not that. Yeah, so it was just that's probably why I remember you, but from Philly.
But you do or don't remember the very first time you met?
I think it was at the Comedy Works. Did you work the Comedy Works?
Denver?
In Philadelphia, Steve Young's club.
Oh, maybe.
I thought that's what it was.
I'm sure.
I was thinking about it on the way here, but I always look at you like that. I'm always thinking, that's
He's a few years ahead of me, and at one point I would see his act and go, how does he do it?
Yeah, how does he? Man, he did all new jokes the second show because you had enough, material.
I must not have been doing very long amount of time on stage. And now it's time for Kevin's pop quiz.
Wow.
Between 5 and 15 possible points for each of these 3 questions. Once the final score is tabulated, it will be posted on our website along with the current standing among the top 100. Are you ready?
Yes.
Question number 1. Sammy Davis Jr. or Ann B. Davis?
You mean what's the question? Sammy Davis Jr.
That's correct. That's absolutely correct. Yeah. Question number 2.
Okay.
Carl Weathers or the weather in Carlsbad?
The weather in Carlsbad.
No, I'm sorry.
I knew it. I swear. I'm not even lying. I thought because the other guy probably is this. I think his name, like he's got soul, and he's probably. Wait, what if you just switch it? I think you knew I think there's a right and a wrong.
And last question, Keith.
Richards. What else? What do you?
That's perfect.
Did I get it right?
Yeah, you did.
Keith Blumbardt.
I can't thank you enough. Again, write to us, folks. Fan mail. Is that right? I always forget. KPCSfanmail@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. Todd, they should go to a website to find you and your upcoming dates. Is it just, what is
Todd Glass Comedy?
Sure.
I think that's my website. And when does this drop?
I don't see how that's your business.
Oh,
yeah. It drops. It drops
February 8th, 9th, and 10th.
I'll tell you off the air because whoever's listening to this, that the date, this information won't matter to them.
Right.
It matters to you and me. But I will say less than a week.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So can I plug 2 dates?
You should plug away.
Okay. Oh, so yeah, the 8th, 9th, and 10th, I'll be at the Vermont Comedy Club, which is one of those just beautiful comedy
Feels
clubs.
like you're talking about February.
February. And
8th, 9th, and 10th?
Yes.
What's it called?
The Vermont Comedy Club.
In Vermont.
It's the best. It's the best. You can literally. I know we're ending,
No.
But it's.
I've never heard of it. I
When
want
you
to hear
it's
more.
attached to a hotel, you think how much soul can it have? But they built a brand new hotel, and it was attached to an historical building, and people had to submit what they wanted to do in that building, and they submitted a comedy club, and they won that. So now you're in this building that's got soul and it's old stone walls, and it's great. And then it's connected to the hotel, so you can go from your hotel room down the elevator to backstage.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yes.
When you stay there, stay under the name John Lovitz. That way no one will bother you. How about that?
Would that work?
Yeah.
Probably more people bother me if I was him. And then the comedy works.
But you don't stay there under your own name now that people know you go from the hotel room.
Oh, you know what? They always. Oh, I never thought about that.
Really?
I never thought about because usually you don't mention that the hotel because you don't need to. Just because it's connected, I thought that was that's one of the things I love about this club that you're just right there, but you're not in a banquet room or something like that.
Okay.
And then the Comedy Works, which is, which probably could be like one of those greatest clubs on the planet type of a thing. I go there Valentine's Day all the way through Sunday. And I'm looking forward to that.
Again, is this the Comedy Works
in Denver?
In Denver.
Yeah, where they take your phones before the show and put them in little things. You get to have them on you, but they're in these little sealed up things.
Yeah, it's the best.
They're the only club that does it, I think, only club so far. You know?
Yeah.
So 2 great clubs, and I'm looking forward to seeing you over there. The people.
But otherwise, ToddGlassComedy.com.
Yeah, my podcast, The Todd Glass Show.
Right. And folks get that on the iTunes and everywhere else they get a podcast.
Yes.
And the new stand-up special is called
Act Happy.
For fuck's sake. I'm just a tag I'm giving.
Oh.
Yeah, that's not in the actual title.
Act happy for fuck's sake underneath it. I wanted to call it Suck My Pigeon Dick, but because it's a joke in my act about pigeons that
By the way, it's funnier if it's not a joke in your act.
Yeah,
you just
go,
wanted
why
to call
is
it.
that? But when I went by the billboard today and I thought, I guess Suck My Pigeon Dick wouldn't have looked too good up on a billboard.
Happy now?
Yeah, I'm glad I listened
Act
to Netflix. Act happy. It's something I say, as I'm getting off the tour bus to the band. I go, act happy, guys. We just went with that.
Before every single take of every movie he ever shot, Jack Lemmon would say to himself, magic time.
Oh, really?
Before every take. Just
say
himself.
it like him.
That was it. He would just say, magic time. There's no impression. There's no available within that little space. And
it's a good thing to say.
It wasn't an affectation. It wasn't for anyone else benefit. Like he was saying it so that someone next to him would say, oh, I always heard he said that. It was never that, ever. It was just something he did for himself before every single take.
Yeah.
Magic time.
to remind them what it was.
I can't thank you enough for your spirit,
Thank you.
your joy, your articulation, and your posture.
Thank you.
Until next time, man, as always, get out of my face.